for today's video, we are going to discuss about generative syntax, the prescriptive and descriptive rules. So first, let us define first what is syntactic theory. The kinds of rules that determine how words and language are put together to form larger units that have meaning, and how speakers of a language are able to determine what are the possible and what are impossible order of words in their language. So what are these rules? First, we have prescriptive rules. It is the speaker know how the syntax of their language and what rules they should follow. It is to produce good sentence, speakers know the rules of good grammar. Now, here are some prescriptive rules. First is do not split infinitives. Second, never end a sentence with a preposition. Third, use I or me in coordinations. Fourth, use whom, not who. Rules like this, which are often called prescriptive rules because they prescribe what you should do and they tell you what you should do. Now, these prescriptive rules of language are sometimes compared to laws of society. This is indeed disobeyed. So, but it's also important to realize that we need to know about language, not only what speakers do, but what they don't really do. Now, this is an example. Anna read a book in a newspaper. Now you wanted to know what is Anna is reading. So you're going to the sentence will be turned like this. Which book did Anna read in the newspaper? Now you realize that this sentence is ungrammatical and syntactically unacceptable. Now what happened here on the second sentence? This is the result of descriptive rule. Now what is descriptive rule? A rule that speakers have in their syntactic knowledge of English, but one that was never taught to them explicitly. Now in syntax, we will be using this rule if a sentence is grammatical or ungrammatical. Or maybe a sentence will be possible or impossible in a particular language to be used. Now that is prescriptive and descriptive rule in syntax. Now let's proceed to generative syntax on constituents. Now what is constituents? Words that forms groups, and these groups of words can form larger groups. Children postulate possible rules for their language, are very sensitive from the earliest stages of acquisition. Children are building on the idea that sentences do not consist of just one word after another. Now, what is polar questions? Child that might try to acquire the rule that produces yes or no sentences. Example: is a girl tall? Or can the girl see the boy who is holding the plate? Now if the sentence are just sequence of words, one word after another, then an entirely plausible rule that can or could come up with is the auxiliary word. Now auxiliary word in the declarative sentence, and you moved it to the beginning of the sentence to form the polar question. Note that the rule for forming yes or no questions is sensitive to the structure of the sentence, not just to the sequence of the words, just one after another. Structure of sentences, and the sentence might consist of two constituents, each one of which might consist of two constituents, so with a total of 4 constituents. Some words within that sentence form constituents combined into larger ones, and some words do not form constituents. So, this is how the language actually works. not the way it should work. Now, this is the descriptive rule in syntax. Now, let's proceed to the last, which is the generative syntax on constituent recursion. So, what is recursion? A fundamental property of human languages that allow their sentences to exhibit. Now, recursion is also a constituent containing a constituent of the same type. Recursion is an overarching sentence which contains another sentence. Now, the system itself doesn't impose a limit. So the constraints on how much recursion you can do and how many times you can embed a sentence, those seem to be constraints which come from outside of the language. Syntax allows you to build sentences that are infinitely long. Now, that is a rule on constituent recursion on syntax.